All right, folks, what is going on? This is episode 610 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am Via Ball. Over here, we talk about Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football. And today is going to be somewhat of a continuation of episode 609. I told you guys that I was wrong, and I felt like the wide receivers aren't the issue. After, what episode was that? I got to remember what episode that was. I want to apologize. It looked like it was episode number 606, where I talked about the wide receivers were the issue, and I was wrong. So in 609, I talked about what I thought was the real issue. It was the linebackers, and I gave my thoughts and opinions. And it doesn't mean that the linebackers are bad or anything. It's just that that's the weakest part of the team. And apparently, Pro Football Talk agrees with me. Because I don't know where this came from. I don't know if this is the same, the article came out today or whatever the case may be. I don't know. But I was scrolling on the internet and I just happened to see this. And I was like, wow, I just talked about this. So we're going to talk about what was said on Pro Football Talk. I'll put the link down in the description so you can read it for all the other rankings for the other teams as well. But we're going to talk about the Falcons because the Falcons are the team that we talk about over here when it comes to the NFL. And I hope that this is not an indication that they're going to be this bad. I want this team to succeed. And in some cases, I do feel like this is a little low. Just because I said they're the weakest link on the team, it doesn't mean that they're fourth to the bottom. You know what I mean? So we're going to talk about it. If this is your first time here, welcome. I could be found on YouTube and Rumble. I'm also on Spotify, Stitcher, and Apple, Google Podcasts. Don't forget to give me hit the like button. Give me a 5-star rating on that Apple podcast. I know it's a majority of people, overwhelmingly a majority of people listen to this on Apple Podcasts. I really appreciate it. I mean, the support is through the roof on that side of the fence. And if you're over here on YouTube or Rumble, hit the like button. You know, it helps grow the show. It helps get more eyes on the show, and it helps us grow so we can have more dialogue with different people. Also, I can be found on Twitter. Twitter is at VFBaller. Over there, I talk about things that don't really make it to the show. And also, you can check out the website, firstandframerates.com. All right, 28th place, the Atlanta Falcons, as far as linebackers. I'm going to read this word for word for what it says, and I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions on as I react to what is on the screen. Atlanta linebackers struggled across the board in 2022. Their primary solution will be to take a chance on 2022 breakout Caden Ellis, who was excellent last season for the Saints, posting a 81.5 overall grade. Well, that's the grade that Pro Football Talk like to use. He offers value off the ball and on the edge and was terrific down the stretch as his usage increased. From week 10 to 8 through 18, Ellis led all linebackers in overall grade, 89.8, pressures with 17, and sacks with 6. Several young players will compete for playing time alongside Ellis. Michael Walker struggled to a 58.7 overall grade in his first year in the starting role. He's shown flashes in coverage as evidenced by his 2 interceptions and 4 pass breakups last season, but it needs to find consistency. I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think Michael Walker's going to be fine. I mean, he's done very well for himself, improving, throughout, game by game. So I think he'll be fine. Second round rookie Troy Anderson is a raw player who would have benefited from a lesser role. He particularly struggled in coverage, giving up a 94.4 completion percentage. I just talked about this last episode. Like I said, this is going to be the problem covering, tight ends and running backs. I think Michael Walker is going to be good, but you need at least another guy that can do that as well. That was the worst marking among all linebackers with at least 20 targets in coverage. He has all the tools, but also has a ton of learning to do. I said this in an episode a while back. I said that he's going to be the heart and soul of this defense. I still believe that. Does that mean it's going to happen this year? It's a possibility. It's a possibility that it can happen. I mean, I don't have an issue with him, starting to lead what the linebackers do. But like this said, he does have a lot of learning to do. It's only his second year, and with guys like Caden Ellis, Michael Walker, Lorenzo Carter, those type of guys around him, he should be able to learn a lot. But I feel like some of the veterans, they're going to lean on him. They're going to want him to grow. They're going to want him to get better. Because a lot of veterans that are picked up on his team, that are brought to the team, are actually, somewhat mentors. And then when you have guys coming in like Bud Dupree, who's kind of like a tweener, he's not necessarily a veteran, but he's a really good player. He can feed off of that as well and show, Troy Anderson what to do in certain situations and how he can get his game to be better. And I mean, all in all, with the free agents that we bought in, Atlanta is in a really good spot to actually grow this team. And that's what it is at the end of the day. You want to grow this team to the point where these guys are actually going to be able to be better, not only just, year in and year out, but not just week in and week out, day in and day out. Every time they practice, they get better. Every time they play a game, they get better. Every time they watch film, they get better. And this is what you want. I want to see Troy Anderson to take that step. But nevertheless, it doesn't negate the fact that what I said, like on the last episode, the Falcons' weakest link, in my opinion, is the linebacker corps. That doesn't mean that they're bad. It's just that when you look at everything else, like I said, the secondary, the front four, you look at the running backs, the offensive line, and you look at the receivers, you can make a case for the quarterback because Desmond Ridder is still kind of like an unknown, but you have Taylor Heineke behind him. So those two in tandem together, you got a pretty solid group right there. So the tight ends, we have guys that are very athletic and can play ball. Same thing with the linebackers. Don't get it twisted. Caden Ellis, Michael Walker, Troy Anderson, Lorenzo Carter, these guys are very athletic. They can play ball. They know what they're doing. Bud Dupree can play ball. But when we look at what they have, this might be, the weakest side of things. Now, what made this 28 ranking so low that I don't agree with? I don't think this linebacker group is that low, probably compared to the rest of the league, but maybe. But I think they're more like in the early 20s because you still got Bud Dupree, you got Caden Ellis, you got Lorenzo Carter. Those three guys in themselves are actually a lot better than advertised. Michael Walker, they said that, he was 58.7 overall grade, but he had 2 interceptions and 4 pass breakups. I mean, for a linebacker, that's actually really, really good. You don't get too many linebackers who get pass breakups. They usually are tackling or, they're trying to, get in the backfield or whatever the case may be. But to be a cover guy, that's actually pretty good. So I would want to rank the Falcons a little bit up higher. I would say maybe 23, 22, maybe 24 at the lowest. But they still got work to do. They have work to do, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think anyone really understood, no one really said that I took a slight at the Falcons or whatever the case may be, because I don't mind it. If you're not doing what you're supposed to do, you need to get up out of here. I mean, you just talk about how I felt about Marcus Mariota. Some people, and this is another thing. There was an excellent stat. Now I'm about to get off topic a little bit. There was an excellent stat on Twitter, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but there was a stat on Twitter that we were in, 15. I think it was like 15 one-score games. And I said on Twitter, if Marcus Mariota, plays decent, fairly well, we win, 70% of those games. You know what I'm saying? And it come to find out, Marcus Mariota was 32nd for the most part. He was 32nd in pass completions, 32nd in pass completion percentage. So it's like, this dude should have no business playing. He had no business playing football for the Falcons after week 7. I mean, that's just my opinion, but that's a whole nother story. Nevertheless, I feel like, this team is on its way. We basically changed the entire identity of this team. I mean, we did it ever since we drafted Drake London and that whole draft class. When those guys came in, you saw that this draft class was going to be different. I mean, when we got here the first time, when we got, the other guys, when we got Kyle Pitts and we got Richie Grant, you kind of felt like it was kind of the same because, all right, we needed somebody who could catch footballs or whatever the case may be. We needed some secondary. But once we started to see what we was doing later on down the road, and then you started to see what we were doing when it came to when it came to the second year and those players started coming in, then I was like, okay, now we're starting to see the difference. Now year 3, you see what we're doing now with cap space. Now, whatever we had in the Matt Ryan, Dan Quinn era is totally different now. This is a totally different team. And the main thing now is we never really looked at linebackers like that, even back then. But with all the stuff that's been moving around, we have a good problem with our defense. I mean, we have a pretty decent secondary. You got a front seven that's going to get at the quarterback. The linebackers are still kind of young and raw, but compared to everything else that we have, this is the weakest link. And they're 28th based on Pro Football Focus, but I really feel like they're more in the early 20s. So, but at the end of the day, it's not a bad, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think just like any other publication out here, they tend to get the Falcons kind of wrong. I mean, you may have like one or two that out there that's actually fair. This may be this is probably the most fair assessment that I've seen from the Falcons that's outside of the Sports Illustrated, the Sports Illustrated type of a deal that I've been talking about lately. I mean, the guys at Sports Illustrated have been doing the Falcons report, though, phenomenal job of covering the Falcons. They do a really good job, but this may be like the most fair because I can see how it's 28, but I don't think it should be 28. But nevertheless, what do you guys think? You let me know, because I think the linebackers are good, but I stand by what I said from yesterday. I knew I was wrong, and I tried to explain to you why I was wrong. And I feel like the linebackers are the ones that's going to probably need the most help out of every aspect of this team. You could probably make a case for special teams because of Avery Williams went down. You could probably make a case for the quarterback because of Desmond Ridder. But like I said, I think Desmond Ridder is a lot better than advertised. I think this kid is getting a bad rap for whatever reason. It's kind of weird. But some people are starting to turn around to that. But we'll talk about that another day. If you like this commentary, hit the like button, share this podcast, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with Pro Football Focus? Do you agree with these guys with having these guys 28? I don't necessarily agree with it, but I do understand what they're trying to say. I think the Falcons linebacker core is the weakest issue on this team. But I do believe that the Falcons should be in the early 20s, not at the 28th. I think this is a little bit too low because, like I said, you got Caden Ellis, Michael Walker, and Bud Dupree, Lorenzo Carter, and Troy Anderson. I think these guys are actually they're pretty decent. But when you look at this team collectively, I think other aspects of this team are better than what these linebackers can do. Maybe they can prove me wrong. Let me know. I can be found on YouTube and Rumble, also on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, Google Podcasts. Thank you guys for, the support. I really appreciate it. I will see you guys on Thursday. Enjoy the rest of, wait a minute, is today Thursday? Yeah, tomorrow will be Thursday. That's right. Enjoy your Wednesday evening. I will see you guys on Thursday. Lose track of time, man. Be working so hard. Sorry about that. And I'll see you guys on the next one. All right, y'all. Y'all take it easy. And y'all be blessed. Peace.